Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Not So Woo Woo Guru. My name's John Quirk. If you're new or newish to this podcast, I've been a yoga meditation breathwork teacher for the past 10 years. And for the last 7 years, I've been running a company called SoCal Wellness Retreats based out of San Diego, California. Um, that path has been an amazing journey of self development and getting to help other people, entrepreneurship. So those are some of the things that I talk about on this podcast. And for those of you that know me a little bit, you know that I really like to keep it very real. I don't like to sugarcoat things. I like to share very openly, honestly about my life because I honestly think that's the way that we grow individually. And then the podcasts and the things that I like to listen to are the same because I feel like you really get to learn from other people and their experiences. And in a increasingly fake world of artificial intelligence and people putting out content that just isn't really true to who they are. I really try to honor that. I really try to show up fully and authentically every single day of my life, in whatever I'm doing. So, with that being said, this week's episode is to share a couple stories of some recent physical assaults that I went through. And I've been a hockey player most of my life that I was able to stand. I want to say I was like 6 or 7 when I first put on skates and really haven't looked back. I've played a lot of different sports: baseball, golf, tennis, football, lacrosse. It was a 3 season sport in high school, but or yeah, 3 season sport athlete in high school. And but hockey was always my first love, and it's something that I've held on to in my adult life. I'm 39 years old right now, but I play 2 to 3 times a week. A lot of roller hockey out here in Southern California, and I love it. It's an amazing community. It's an amazing way to get exercise. I love the camaraderie, just hanging out with the guys after the game. Um, and recently I'm in a league that's 40 and over. I'm in a league that's very competitive, and guys are as young as 19, and then I'm in as a one that's 30 and over, and then I'm also in one that's 40 and over. So I have kind of a little bear, medium bear, mama bear kind of situation. But the 40 and over one's supposed to be more like the chill league. It's a bunch of older guys and it goes a little bit slower. But we've been playing against this team, and for a while that is just really chippy. And if they're winning, they're fine. But if they're losing, there's a lot of young angsty energy, like undeveloped men energy that is really prevalent. And so we played them in a championship game a few weeks ago, and we were beating them pretty badly. And I had scored a couple goals, was having a good game, and all of a sudden, one of the players on their team, after a whistle, like after a play was over, came out and literally physically assaulted me, like cross-checked me across the face. I went to the ground, and then he jumped on top of me and proceeded to punch me 3 times. And I really, I really have been thinking a lot about where's the balance point between, I'm this person that meditates multiple times a day, sometimes 3 times a day, multiple hours a day. And I'm very aware of my internal environment. I'm very aware of how thoughts create emotions and then how it influences the decisions that I make. But I'm also aware that at a certain point, being peaceful and being loving and being empathetic has a sort of cutoff point. Like it has a limit where we have to self-preserve. We have to take care of ourselves, right? It's almost like a do no harm, take no shit thing, which I've heard a bunch of times and I really liked. And I kind of developed that as an ethos. And then I don't know, I think as you develop further, you look at some of these really enlightened masters, like some of these Dalai Lama type people, or these people that can literally even then have their physical liberties sort of infringed upon. And can still come from a place of love and compassion. And I always kind of said, I'm like, I don't know if I could develop to that point. I think at a certain point, like, I'd always want to stand up for myself, or I'd always want to protect myself at the very least. And I think about the samurai. The samurai were never conquerors, but they were the only, I don't know if you'd call them a military organization, but they were the only group of people that were able to basically ward off the Mongolians when the Mongolians were on this epic, conquering spree. So it was to say that they weren't going to go out and mess with anybody, but if you came to them, you were going to get it. And, so in this moment of getting assaulted, I was laying on the ground and finally the guy got off of me and I got up and I knew I had this sort of decision to make, whether to just sort of back away or, did I kind of return fire? And I chose violence. I chose that I wanted to go um, inflict some kind of pain on this guy, and I think there was elements of pride, and I think there was elements of self-preservation. I think there was elements of just uncontrolled anger. But before I could even get to the guy, somebody actually pulled me back from behind, and I wasn't able to actually hurt him. But then after the game, I knew this was like a really important moment. I knew that um, hockey's a very physical game. That's part of what I love about it. It's a challenge. I mean, you can get really hurt playing it. Um, but this was something different. This was something where somebody had intentionally tried to inflict harm and tried to inflict damage on me. And I had this, sort of moment that I didn't feel like I was being the best version of myself. And so I sat in my car for like 20 minutes and meditated after the game. And I was just like, man, I was like, what would happen if you know, if I had another opportunity, if I could have done this again, what would I have done? And so I said, man, I think I would have liked to have just remained calm, and maybe could I even go to the level of like asking this guy, like, what's wrong with you? Like, are you okay? Like, do you need help? Do you need support? Like, what caused you to like flip out or freak out? And the latter part, I wasn't 100% that I could do yet, but the first part, I was like, yeah, I think I could do that. I think I could be more relaxed in the moment. I think I can not lash out. So sure enough, we play this team again 2 weeks later. And wouldn't you know it, not the same guy, but a different guy in a game where we were up 8-3 and I had scored 3 goals. I had a really great game. Came after me and same thing, stick up towards the head. He got me in the neck. My neck was bleeding. And I went to the ground and I looked up and I did say, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" I want to be clear. I wasn't 100%, but I just looked him in the face. I was like, what's wrong? Like, why? Like, why? And he stared back at me with this cold, dead look. I was just like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, man, here's a guy who's just like hurting, man. Like, here's a guy who's struggling, you know? And I saw it from like this different level. Like, I didn't feel like an anger. I almost literally in real time felt this like empathy for this guy. And then afterwards, I again sat with it a little bit. And it was interesting because I had had a conversation with my dad about the first interaction. And my dad and I aren't very close, but I know that he cares about me being safe. That's something that I've always been very grateful for. That he doesn't express a whole lot of interest in my life, but I do know at the end of the day he wants me to be safe. And I think in the grand scheme of things, that's a beautiful thing for a father to do for a son. And I'm grateful for that. So I told him this story about the first interaction, and then like a few days later he called me and said he was really nervous and he had trouble sleeping because he was like, man, you got to like take care of yourself. Your body's important to how you make a living, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So after the second interaction, I was on the phone with him again, and I give him all the details because I didn't want him to like freak out, but I said, yeah, it seems like this team just has a problem. They just have like an energetic like malfunction, or they just have like something that's like off with these guys. And he gets riled up. My dad, he wants to give advice, but he doesn't know how to stay calm when he does it, so he gets angry. But I've learned that, so I just kind of am able to like extricate what needs to get extricated. But he said, well, maybe this is like you gotta like not fucking play against these guys. And I was like, at first I was like, I don't know, like I should be able to play, like I pay for the league, blah blah blah, all this stuff. But then I thought about it and I was like, and that goal, that second game, rather, that game where I scored 3 goals, I didn't even really have fun. I was so nervous about, and they were doing other stuff throughout the game, hooking me and jabbing me with the stick. And one guy cross-checked me across the back and a big bruise when I woke up. And I said, man, I was like, yeah, this isn't fun. And my intention for coming to this hockey is like, we're not in the NHL. Like, this is like a bunch of guys that get together, we play, especially the 40 over league. It's supposed to be casual, it's supposed to be enjoyable. And then you're supposed to like hang out in the the parking lot afterwards. And I don't drink, but those guys like to hang out and have beers, and it's like fun. We tell jokes and we laugh a lot. We talk about NHL hockey. We talk about life. That's where we decide to do other things outside, like go to baseball games and stuff. It's fun. It's like it's really a big part of my life. And I said, but in this instance, it's not fun, and it is like potentially like dangerous. I mean, this is like I could see myself getting really hurt by one of these guys, and then I wouldn't be able to play at all. And so I said, Dad, he was getting really angry. And I said, I was like, you're right. Like, I can still play in this league. I just don't want to play against this team. So I texted the guys on my team afterwards, and they were all like, and I was a little nervous because I didn't want to be like a pansy or, all that like old conditioning about being like an alpha male is like, an alpha male sport. It's like, you're supposed to just show up and do it. But I was so like pleasantly surprised. The guys on my team were like, hey, I don't blame you. Like, these guys are out of control. And like, they actually, as a team, said maybe we should just forfeit those games and like send a message to the league, just like not show up for those games because it's like it is like the point of this is supposed to have fun. So yeah, in retrospect, it's really funny that the universe, like I kind of sat with it and I was like, what would I do if I had another chance? And then like literally a couple weeks later, I had another chance. And I definitely evolved my experience. I definitely evolved how I was able to handle that situation. I was much more responsive rather than reactive. And I did, like I said, feel like an element. Oh, I forgot there's video on this. Yeah, here's one of the bruises from the. If you're listening, sorry, but if you're watching, yeah, I literally have this huge bruise on my shoulder from getting cross-checked. I just noticed. But yeah, it's so interesting that I had this opportunity to evolve the experience, to find empathy and to find more compassion for these guys, and then also to really ask myself the question very mindfully, like, I love hockey, but is this the greatest good for me? Like, is this a good investment of my time and of my energy? And that's something that I've been thinking a lot about. It's something I've been working with people in my coaching sessions on, is like, where are you really placing your time and your attention and your energy? I mean, I think it's like the most important investment we have. So again, like I don't want to quit hockey. I don't want to leave hockey. The other two leagues I play in, I love. It's so phenomenal. It's so fun. But just for these games, it felt right to just sort of step back. And it's sometimes stepping back or stepping away from a confrontation or stepping away from a fight. I think there's a lot to be said about that. I think there's really beautiful examples of people not entering into conflict. Um, that's really beautiful. I think a certain amount of challenge is appropriate in our lives. But I mean, man, the more I think about just how challenged our planet is by how much anger and how much vitriol is out there, like there's a way to play competitively. I think about the NHL, even those guys, like they play hard against each other, and then after the playoffs, they all shake hands and they congratulate each other. Like it's beautiful. And I don't even want to shake these guys' hands after that game. It wasn't, I mean, they're just not good sports. I've watched these guys like literally assault people with their sticks. Like, not just me, guys on my team, like literally just taking whacks at people. And that's not right. And I think you got to stand up against that. So, yeah, I've been spending a lot of time with this. I think it's a really important thing for us to know what's the right amount for us that we can sustain and withhold, and then also where's that point where we have to put our foot in the ground and stand up for ourselves, or where's the point where we have to kind of walk away, you know? So my invitation to you, if you're listening to this, is just to think about maybe some of the things that aren't serving you that you're investing energy into. How do you feel during it? How do you feel after it? Like even in like a workout or something where you're there's an outcome down the line, but are you actually enjoying it while you're doing it? Or is it maybe just something that you're checking off the list, or are you kind of running into old patterns or things that I do this because I used to do it, or because my parents wanted me to do it when I was a kid, or whatever it was, you know. And that level of self-awareness, and the reason that I sit with myself in meditation after big events like this is because I really want to feel it. Like I want to feel what's moving through me. But then also I want to be prepared for like if it's a big life event, it's something that I want to evolve my experience in or be better at the next time something like that presents itself, that I'll be ready, you know. And it's not like I'm like doing everything throughout my day and then meditating immediately afterwards. It's like these big life events though, do you take a little time to really process it and really understand it so you can know how to move through it the next time. So yeah, just wanted to thank you guys for listening. I love to share these little stories and these little wisdoms. I think there's a lot of beauty in showing up in the world with conviction and strength and power. But I think one of the most powerful things that we can do is, yeah, to really know when to not engage and to walk away. And I think to maybe an extreme level, I don't know that violence is ever really the answer. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think, but um, yeah, sending lots of love out to you wherever you are. Take care of yourselves, especially if you're playing hockey.